Ferrari just made a statement that could end Lewis Hamilton's chances of fighting at the front, and no one saw it coming. Why is a 7-time world champion suddenly being stripped of updates, resources, and trust while his teammate gets everything? In this video, we reveal the internal Ferrari shift, what happened in Brazil, and the single decision that could sabotage Hamilton's legacy. Because this wasn't just another race gone wrong, this might be the moment Ferrari chose to turn the page, without him. No one expected this. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, the man hired to bring Ferrari back to glory, just received a silent blow from within his own team. And it didn't come from a spin, or a crash, or a mechanical failure. It came from a meeting. A message. A single, calculated decision inside Maranello that now threatens to derail the final chapter of his legendary career. After the Brazilian Grand Prix, the atmosphere inside Ferrari changed. There was no public criticism. No outburst. No dramatic fallout. But there was one thing far more revealing: silence. And then, without warning, came a statement from Ferrari's leadership masked as a long-term vision, but coded in a way only insiders understood. They spoke of continuity, driver synergy, and building around long-term commitment. Lewis Hamilton's name wasn't mentioned once. For fans, that was the moment everything clicked. Because just 48 hours earlier, Hamilton had been forced to retire from the Brazilian Grand Prix, not from driver error, but from damage and imbalance in a car that never felt ready. His rear tires never gripped. His floor took damage. His car was running an older spec than his teammates. And still, he fought. Still, he pushed. But the team never adjusted strategy. Never gave him the tools to recover. Now we know why. Ferrari confirmed that, going forward, only one car would receive the remaining technical upgrades this season: Leclerc's. The other Hamiltons would remain locked in baseline configuration. A fixed platform for data gathering, not performance. For Hamilton, this is more than a tactical setback. It's a signal that the team has quietly moved on without ever saying it. This is not about numbers. It's about narrative. Ferrari's latest statement doesn't just shift technical direction. It reshapes Hamilton's role in the team entirely. The man who was brought in to lead development is now being positioned as an observer, a validator, a control variable in a science experiment he never agreed to join. And he's doing it while wearing the most iconic red suit in motorsport history. But if history has taught us anything about Lewis Hamilton, it's this: he doesn't break under pressure. He sharpens. And if Ferrari thinks this season is already decided, they may be forgetting who's in the cockpit: a man who's rewritten Formula One history more times than any other. And who may not be done writing it yet. This is where the truth behind Hamilton's retirement in Brazil is no longer speculation, it's measurable. The telemetry. The sensor logs. The tire data. Every trace confirms what many suspected in real time: this wasn't just a bad race. It was the result of technical neglect, and it started before lights out. Hamilton's Friday long runs already looked off. He was reporting instability on entry and unpredictable oversteer mid-corner, symptoms that engineers now confirm were tied to colder than optimal rear tire temperatures. At a track like Interlagos, where rear traction is everything, that deficit is catastrophic. And while Leclerc's car consistently hit target temps by turn 1, Hamilton's was running as much as 4 degrees colder on the rears, enough to kill traction and destroy balance under load. Then came qualifying. Same story, different lap. Sector 2, where fast changes of direction and rear-end stability are crucial, exposed the grip difference. While Leclerc attacked the curbs and stayed planted, Hamilton had to lift. His car wouldn't rotate. He lost more than 6/10 in that sector alone. And the most revealing part? Both cars were supposedly equal, but only one was running the updated floor, the revised rear suspension, and the improved diffuser package. During the Grand Prix, Hamilton's situation worsened. On lap 1, light contact with debris caused a loss of floor integrity on the left rear. It didn't look like much. But according to Ferrari's own engineers, that single moment resulted in a 30-point loss of aerodynamic load. That kind of downforce drop is race-ending, and it was. From that point, Hamilton's car became nearly unmanageable in mid-speed corners. Brake balance had to shift. Corner entries had to be reworked. And still, he kept it on track. But what shocked observers wasn't the failure, it was the response. Or rather, the lack of one. No setup change. No strategy adjustment. No attempt to extract anything different from the situation. The pit wall stayed silent. By lap 37, the call came: retire the car. Save the engine. Save face. But Hamilton knew the real damage had already been done, not to the power unit, but to the narrative. Because the data was clear. He wasn't underperforming. He was under-equipped. And for a driver like Lewis Hamilton, that's not just a technical issue, it's a professional insult. Especially when the same garage sent another car out with every available upgrade, support, and strategic flexibility. That's not equality. That's a message. And in Brazil, that message came through louder than any team radio ever could. This was never about just one race. What happened in Brazil was the consequence of a quiet engineering pivot that began weeks earlier deep inside the technical offices of Maranello. A shift that changed Ferrari's structure from a dual-driver project to a single-driver priority. And Lewis Hamilton? He was left on the wrong side of that decision. Following the United States Grand Prix, Ferrari's top engineers were called into a closed-door technical briefing. The objective was simple: streamline development. The team had entered the final phase of the season with one clear instruction: begin shifting focus toward 2026. That meant reducing variables, tightening testing, and prioritizing one consistent baseline for feedback. Charles Leclerc was selected to lead that evolution. Hamilton, by contrast, was assigned to maintain control spec. From that moment, the garage began to split in silence. Leclerc's side received the upgraded floor, with revised Venturi tunnels and a more aggressive edge design to aid underbody airflow. His car was fitted with the new rear suspension designed for sharper rotation and improved traction out of slower corners. Meanwhile, Hamilton's car was left untouched. Same floor. Same rear geometry. Same compromised balance. Not because it was performing better, but because the data needed stability, and Hamilton was chosen to provide it. Internally, Ferrari referred to it as Project Bifurcation. One path was future-focused, experimental, aggressive Leclerc's path. The other was linear, fixed, conservative Hamilton's path. The team needed clean data to prepare for next year's chassis, and they couldn't afford overlapping variables. So, while Leclerc was pushing new limits, Hamilton was preserving old baselines. The message was clear within the team. Engineers began referring to Hamilton's side of the garage as the reference stream. It sounded scientific, but in practice, it meant static setups, reduced freedom, and a total freeze on component upgrades. Every weekend, he entered sessions knowing his configuration would remain locked. No aero tools. No damper changes. No floor variation. Just consistency and silence. And this is where the truth becomes inescapable. Ferrari didn't sideline Hamilton because he lacked pace. They sidelined him because they needed a benchmark. A known quantity. A professional who could deliver stable input under unstable conditions. And while that may sound strategic from an engineering standpoint, from a racing perspective, it was a devastating demotion. Lewis Hamilton was no longer developing the future of Ferrari, he was being used to validate it. Just days after Brazil, while questions from fans and media swirled, Ferrari broke their silence. But instead of clarity, they delivered something far colder, a corporate message dressed as optimism. At a strategy event in Turin, Ferrari president John Elkann stated, "We are fully aligned around a driver who represents continuity, cohesion, and technical harmony for our future." He never mentioned Hamilton. Not once. And that silence? It was intentional. To anyone unfamiliar with Formula One politics, those words sound harmless. But to those inside the paddock, it was a public confirmation of what had already begun. Ferrari is building around Leclerc. They've picked their foundation, their tone, their direction. And Hamilton, the man brought in to lead a transformation, is no longer at the center of it. What stung wasn't just the wording, it was the timing. Hamilton had just endured one of the hardest weekends of his career. Driving an underdeveloped car. Fighting floor damage. Retiring from a race where he was never given a fighting chance. And then, instead of support, came this, a diplomatic freeze-out, broadcast to the entire Formula One world. It wasn't a statement about the team. It was a statement about who the team stands behind. But Hamilton didn't take to social media. He didn't confront the press. He didn't challenge Elkann or call out the politics. Instead, he showed up to Maranello the next week, on time, in uniform, and focused. He attended briefings. He logged simulator hours. He remained silent. But for anyone who knows him, that silence is never surrender. It's a warning.